been living in San Pancho, Nayarit, Mexico for almost a month, and this is my second time being in Mexico for like an extended amount of time. And I will say that I think I decided that I don't want to be a digital nomad anymore. I don't want to be an expat. I think I'm gonna go back to the States. So here's why. I'll first start off by saying how I got here, and then at the end I'll kind of like circle in everything. So when I first went to Thailand, I was meeting all of these people that were expats or they were digital nomads, and they were just like living this, what I thought, super glamorous lifestyle. And I think a lot of what Instagram is right now is just people that are entrepreneurs and they're just living wherever, everyone is free, all of that. And I will say that that was super true for me, and I'm so happy that I experienced living in this very like free type of lifestyle, just being kind of like wherever I want to be and not really having lots of belongings. But I will say that on the flip side, where I'm at right now, I think that it's not for me anymore, and this is why. So one of the things that I realized as being an expat living in just like a remote area is possibly that the conveniences that we're used to living in major cities they're not here. And at first I really loved that. I was like, you know what, like this really helps me appreciate life and helps me just live at more of a slower pace. I don't have delivery companies, or especially like me, I don't have a car. I'm like walking everywhere. And at first I really liked it because it just was like allowing me to live much slower. Fast forward to now, I'm starting to realize that some of these conveniences that I was having actually helped my life be a little bit more easy. I thought living in more of like a slow paced environment where I don't have everything at my fingertips was just gonna be like the best route for me. But now I'm kind of in a place where I'm like, you know what, like I would like to maybe have some of those conveniences. I am a solo person traveling alone, and I don't drive, so like having to go to the grocery store, like doing all these different things actually could be quite a project in order to just like feed myself. And that was one of the things that I started to consider, that I'm like, you know what, all of those conveniences and all of the things that we experience living in these major cities, especially like in the US, all those things that I was like very excited to give up, I realized after several months that, you know, like, hey, maybe my life would be easier if I had some of those conveniences back again. So I'm definitely appreciative that I've seen like the flip side, I've seen like both sides, and it's helped me realize how I can just intentionally live my life a bit more slow, and not just now that I've like experienced not being able to have everything at my fingertips and not being able to accumulate a lot of stuff because like I don't have a car to put it in or transport it in. I'm happy that I've seen kind of both the flip side of like living a slower life very minimally, and then also having a life where you can have lots of stuff and everything is convenient and all of that. So that was kind of one thing that I considered, that I've been like thinking about and considering. I would say another thing is that as a digital nomad or an expat, most people are working online. And if you're living somewhere in a remote area, or if you're living out of the US, I've realized how much it's important that, number one, you have access to the internet and stable internet, but also certain things like VPNs or like your IP address showing that you're in a different country causes a lot of challenges if you're trying to conduct business or handle any type of like official business stuff, whether it be with like government websites or like anything like that at all. There's a lot of scenarios where I realized like I couldn't access bank websites or like the IRS website or anything like that because I was showing that I was in a different country. And you can even get VPN numbers, which I've done that, and probably never really found like the right VPN number to have. I just was like, man, like some of this stuff is just a bit frustrating, because if you're trying to, like me, operate a business in the US from outside of the US, it can be challenging. In addition to that, as far as like the internet and everything goes, I have been living in a very like remote area of Mexico. And although it's like a town and there's all of those sorts of things, like I'm not living like in the boonies, it's still like the internet is not 100% stable. And that's something that, like, if you talk to any digital nomad, they're like, oh, do you have internet? Like, internet's the most important thing. It's like internet and water. Most important things, because most digital nomads or expats are like surviving based off of their internet. So that was like another thing that I'm like, okay, man, it would be really nice to like be living in the States and also living in a city where I have internet. So those are like the two things. I think another third thing that I've been kind of experiencing, kind of like playing around with, is that it's like I'm in these beautiful paradise places, and yes, I wake up and I hear like the roosters and like there's palm trees everywhere and all of that. But then I will say that it is kind of depressing that a lot of times throughout the day, I'll be just working on my computer and in the mix of like trying to also handle everyday tasks that, as I mentioned earlier in this video, can like everyday tasks in some of these places require things to be a bit more like slow. So handling just like going and grabbing fruit from the fruit stand downstairs, so I have breakfast in the morning, and then just trying to like get my work done and all of that. Maybe like there's an internet issue or something. It just seems like I'm spending a lot of like the time during the day on my computer a lot, and it's depressing, because I'm like, I want to be outside, I want to be enjoying where I'm at, I want to be like exploring all of that. And so I started to kind of have like these thoughts about, okay, well, if I was on vacation here, I would just be able to turn my computer off, turn my phone off, and just enjoy and just be present and not worry about like what I'm getting accomplished, dealing with all of like the hardships of being in like a remote town out of the country. Also like just being able to enjoy and be present and all of that. So this was like a third or fourth thing that I've been thinking about. I'm like, okay, am I really getting to enjoy the places that I'm at, living here as like a digital nomad or an expat? Like what would it be like if I just like had an apartment, had a stable apartment, and then was able to travel here? So those are a handful of things I've been thinking about. I will say also something that I've started to notice just from talking to other people that are living this lifestyle is that it does get a bit exhausting living out of a suitcase. I, in the beginning, loved this. Like, I loved it. I've never been materialistic. I've never liked to hold on to things. So I really liked just being like, oh, well, I only have a suitcase, so my life is super minimal. I can't have a whole bunch of clothes with me, and I can't hold on to like knickknacks and all of this stuff because I just have a suitcase. So in the beginning, I really enjoyed it and I liked it a lot. It really, again, taught me such a valuable lesson about life, but just about how we really don't need that much, and all of these things that we hold on to are really not that serious at all. And if anything, the things that we hold on to actually cause us a lot more like stress, suffering, all of that. So in the beginning I really enjoyed it, but now I'm getting to a place where I'm like, man, I would really like to have like a piano. Like that's something I really want to learn this year, is how to play the piano. Or had some really amazing sound bowls that they're glass crystal bowls, and trying to travel with those are not so easy. And like, I'm just starting to think about like, oh, there's things that I would really like to learn and dive into, but I only have a suitcase. So like, I can't take a piano with me or a whole bunch of crystal sound bowls with me. So that is something else that I've just been kind of considering. That I'm like, okay, it would be nice to have a home base and be able to have some things. I'm like, okay, how can I mix the things that I've learned being a digital nomad, being an expat, living this like minimalistic, very carefree life, but also like balancing it within the idea of like having a home base, having things, having just a life somewhere, but also still be able to like have adventure and like be free and all of that. So yeah, I've been like, over the past couple weeks, I came back to Mexico to, really, I wasn't 100% sure why I was coming back. I just kind of like ended up back here. And I realized that coming back here made me realize that I am not sure that I want to be a digital nomad or an expat anymore. I'm almost thinking that it would be like a change of pace for me to go have a home base, have like a steady apartment, have some belongings, and then just travel whenever I want to. These are just kind of some things that I'm like, okay, maybe this chapter is that chapter now. So yeah, so these are just some things that I've learned since being a digital nomad and expat, and also just talking to other people that I know and that are also like in the same, that have also experienced kind of some of these things too. I think like the obvious things people talk about, like missing family and like missing friends and all of that, which is true. But I will say that being alone has also helped me like make a lot of friends and make communities, and in a way that I probably wouldn't have back home, or if I would have been like with friends or family traveling. So there's definitely pros and cons to both types of lifestyle, and I highly suggest for everybody, like if you're feeling drawn to want to be an expat or a digital nomad, definitely try it out. Like, it was life-changing. And who knows, I may continue on this journey. I'm headed to Mexico City in 2 weeks, and maybe I'll get to Mexico City and love it. I've heard amazing things about it, and maybe I will like want to stay there for a while, and maybe I won't go back to the States. But right now I'm just kind of like living in flow and realizing, okay, maybe I don't want to live out in a remote area as an expat, and maybe I want to live back in the United States. I don't know. So I'm just kind of like toying around with all of these experiences, all of that. So yeah, so if you are currently a digital nomad or an expat, or if you previously were a digital nomad or an expat, I want to know from you, what are some of the struggles or things that you experienced throughout your journey, and are you still living as a digital nomad or an expat? How long did you last? And if you're thinking about becoming a digital nomad or an expat, have you processed any of the things that I mentioned in this video? Like, how are you planning on like overcoming some of these like mental obstacles, maybe, I guess you would say? I want to hear from you, and so I will be documenting the next couple of weeks that I'm here in San Pancho. I have a retreat that I'm about to go on next week, and then I'll be going to Mexico City to go meet up with some friends that I met out here. So yeah, so I'll see you guys in the next video.